Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is January 31st, 2022, and I believe this is episode 369. I'll have to check on that to make sure. Today we're looking at Unholy, a Vampirella series, a love story, you can see it down there, with Dracula involved, maybe, not in this issue. And it's issue number 1 coming out from Dynamite. It's rated Teen Plus, coming in at a whopping $3.99. Now, issue is not a recommend. I think it's a little bit of a mess. And we'll get into that in a moment. I just want to mention that I did a review of White Ash, Season 2, number 1, a little bit ago. I said that I liked the art. I liked kind of the story and the writing and everything, but I was unsure about what was going on because there was no synopsis of the first season and there was many subplots running through it. Well, I found out there is a White Ash trade with the first 6 issues in it for $19.95 is the cover price on it. That'd be US cover price. And I'm thinking that perhaps I will let that car go by. I will pick that up when I get a chance, if it goes on sale. They had a number of issues there, but I think it's a good enough story to go investigate that one. So there you have it. This is not a recommend, at least at this point, and I'm a little bummed about that. It is a Christopher Priest story, and it just seems kind of junky. Now, I did do some studying and research into Vampirella because I'm not familiar with her at all, her backstory. I'm going to move over here, try to close the window. In fact, let's see if I can pause this. Hey, we're back. Sorry about that. Much better. I didn't realize the window was open until that truck went by. So, I did some research on Vampirella and also Purgatory because I'm reading her too. I thought that was a brand new character, but apparently she's been around for at least a decade or so. Vampirella, she started in the late 60s in eerie and creepy magazine. She was kind of like the host, but she was in some of the stories too. It was dropped down through a few publishers before it got to Dynamite in 2010, I believe, somewhere right around there. And Dynamite has just been exploiting the hell out of her. Apparently she's a vampire from space, but maybe not. They've changed her story, her backstory a number of times. It was very, very confusing. And this issue really didn't clear anything up, unfortunately. So let's take a quick look and see who all was involved with this. We do get a blurb about it a little bit. Apparently she married some guy that she'd been monitoring since he was a child. Since she didn't age, he obviously got older, and the only way to protect him, he was some kind of savior or some kind of pawn for the evil forces. I'm not quite sure, but we do get that little blurb there. There wasn't too much about it in the research I did, so there was a little gap there, and unfortunately. Okay, so Christopher Priest is the writer on this. The artist was Donnie Hadu Dijaja. I'm sorry if I murdered that. Mohan is the colorist. Willie Schubert is the letterer. And Lucio Parillo does the cover A. So let's take a look at the cover, and the awesome cover. We'll take a look at the cover gallery for Unholy as well later on, but boy, she's looking really, really sexy. Okay, moving on. So it starts off here, and we don't know it at the time. We get these little blurbs here, and apparently these blurbs are from Matt, the guy that she married, but apparently they haven't consummated their marriage yet. I'm a little unsure of that. But so we get this art here, and I was going, oh my God, I don't really like this art that much. And they're at Draculas Castle here. They're being attacked by some army And Matt apparently now is, I don't know if he's a Dracula or if Dracula's on his own. I'm not quite sure, but Vampirella is with him, and he chucks her off. I believe he's envisioned Dracula's doing all this. So anyway, long story short, they wipe out this army, and then we get an ad for Pantha, which is a not recommend. I read this exact issue. I'm a little behind on my stuff. I'm catching up, but this was not a recommend. I thought it was poorly written. And so, as you can see, they take out the army, and this art in it is just driving me crazy because I'm not liking it for some reason. Then I realize it's just Matt is actually just dreaming this whole thing. So then we get sharper art, we get a little bit more understand what's going on. So we get their sexy bodies and everything, but apparently they have not had sex after they've been married. And she's protecting him. They start out, he tells the backstory of how he was homeless because of some vampire apocalypse that was going on at the time, and she kind of saved him. It turned out he was important. She spent time with him, obviously, and then wiped his memory clean with her own powers, but then had to come back and save him and had him fall in love with her, I guess. But they haven't had sex. And then we get this FBI field office talking about some other things that don't seem to be involved with the story, about some other deaths that happened, and maybe that was from the last arc. It's a little disjointed, that Christopher Priest had worked on. And then suddenly they're in Transylvania, bringing up some dirt. Now, this is kind of a weird thing because supposedly Matt is supposed to inherit Dracula's castle, but she does not want that to happen, yet she brings him to Transylvania with him just to get at some dirt. And then we get this Helsonia, which, beautiful cover, obviously. Christopher Hastings writing on that. And we can take a look at some of those other covers that are on there. For Pantha, you can go back and watch my review. Haha. So that's coming out this month, last day, so that should be out now. Okay, so she takes him to Transylvania. It makes no sense. And of course, they see an advertisement to go visit Draculas Castle. It's a tourist attraction. And this has this small little things on there about it. You can tell Christopher Priest's an older writer because some of the jokes in here, like on the billboards and whatnot, they seem like they're right out of Mad Magazine. And I think our younger writers are very unfamiliar with the type of humor that Mad was doing back in the day, like the 70s and whatnot. So we continue on with this other situation with this person where we don't know who she is, just know she's Ma. She has something to do with this mafiosa. And then we cut back to the Dracula's Castle, what do you want to call it, tourist trap. And it really is a tourist trap as long as you are the successor to Dracula, I guess. So they have Elvis Dracula on stage. That's why I'm talking about that Mad Magazine humor. They call it Drax Digs, which I think they should just call it Dracula's Castle, honestly. So they decide to go in and check out what it's about. It's kind of like a wax museum with rides and whatnot inside. They go on this one ride, and Matt is captured, pulled off the ride while Vampirella, for some reason, jumps off. I'm not sure. And that's where the episode ends. Now, I do have issue 2. I did buy issue 2 because in a FOMO, it was FOMO. I was fear of missing out. They only had one left. I go, man, if I like issue 1 and I didn't get issue 2 and I go back and it's gone, I'm going to be really upset. But unfortunately, it didn't work out so good. So this is where we end issue 1. Matt is captured and in some kind of dungeon with bats flying around. Now, he, I believe, has been bitten by Vampirella. but I'm not 100% sure. It was very it wasn't very straightforward, the story. The writing itself, I have no problems with it. I mean, there was no grammatical errors. It was well written as far as their voices. It just doesn't make sense. The storyline is just too busted up. Okay, so we get a quick blurb about Christopher Hastings as the wild parrots fly by my window. I don't know if you can hear that or not. And Unholy, here's the cover for number 2. And again, a very nice cover indeed. I don't know if I have this cover or not. I think I have this one because there was only one issue left, and I think that's the one I got. I don't remember. We'll see. Jim Butcher's Dresden Files is being reissued in hardcover. And here's our cover gallery. As you can see, for this number 1 Holy, there were a ton of covers. And let's zip in here. Okay, you got Adam Hughes drawing one of that. I don't know if you can really see that well. There's Adam Hughes. I don't see anything in there really. It just kind of goes on the variations of covers with titles, without titles, in different shades. The blank cover, of course, that seems to be an artist favorite. And I bought a couple of those and given them as gifts to artists so they could draw the cover and sell it. And they seem to do pretty well with those. One guy did one so well that he had it up for $50 and nobody wanted to buy it because they thought it was the real cover, just the real printed cover. He did a good job on it. That one's for you, Ben. Okay, and here's a few more retailer exclusives that we will not see unless we buy one of these and blow them up to sizes in which you can see them. So that's it. Not a recommend. I do have issue 2. I'll be going through that. Maybe the story will get tied together more in that, but right now, as it sits, I cannot recommend Unholy. I did pick up 3 and 4 of Purgatory. I am enjoying that story. It's a little wild, but it's well drawn, and Purgatory's sexy, and I don't like her dialogue so much, but the other characters' dialogues I think has been written really strongly. She talks kind of like a teenager, more or less, instead of someone that should have been pulling in all this wisdom from the souls she has taken. But that's comics for you. Sometimes you don't get exactly what you want. Anyway, thanks for stopping by and listening and watching to this review of Unholy number 1. As always, please like, please subscribe if you haven't. Please leave comments, and we'll see you next time at the Temple of Tomes. This is Indie Comics Jones bidding you adieu.